A child needs a family to grow and express his or her full potential. This is a quote from the preamble of the UNCRC, but it is also what the science tells us. The science tells us that children growing up in an environment that does not have parents and one-to-one attention suffer greatly. There are significant impacts on their physical development. Children are shorter, they are lighter. There is a significant impact on their emotional development. They are unable to form healthy attachments, which in turn have long-term consequences in their older life. But also children who are deprived of the safe and loving family environment in their early years are more likely to struggle in school, are less likely to attend university, and are more likely to be very vulnerable as young people, being more at risk of being exploited, being more at risk of becoming young parents, and in turn using institutions as a way to raise their family. Countries who are keen and committed to implementing successful deinstitutionalization strategies should create the conditions for change and ensure that they have a long-term vision for all children in safe and loving families. When those conditions are in place, what they need to do is to make sure that there are no new institutions being built, and those children who are in institutions, in orphanages, in residential care facilities are supported to transition back into families or in family-based alternatives. Successful governments who have implemented deinstitutionalization programs have worked consistently across 4 areas. They strengthen their political will by creating national plans and budgets associated with those plans. They documented and shared the local know-how of children growing up in families and the know-how of developing alternative families. They developed strong capacity building programs, not only for the professionals working in the field, but also to bring along communities and mobilize volunteers to work alongside families who are facing adversity. And last but not least, countries who have been successful in implementing deinstitutionalization have created adequate resources available for the transition, for developing new services, and for building the capacity of their people. The biggest challenge is really around the political cycles. Short-term goals are really unable to see this change that is more like a marathon. Reforming the care system, deinstitutionalizing the care system is more like a marathon. Halfway through the course you think, why am I doing this? It's way too painful. But once you achieve a tipping point and you can see the results, the success is in sight. The other challenge that governments are facing is that competing priorities. But with deinstitutionalization, we have an opportunity to bring together health, education, justice, social protection to work to support children growing up in families. Families have their solutions. Families are absolutely able to solve the problems that are facing, but lack of action leaves families to move from a situation of risk to being in a situation of crisis where the only strategy is survival. So families need to know that there is someone there for them that can support them in a timely fashion and respond to their urgent needs. And afterwards, what families need is to be helped to understand the strength that they have. What are those protective factors that help them stay together despite the risk situations that they were facing? It's the development of a long-term vision. Governments who were able to see beyond the electoral cycle and looked at 10 to 15 years goals and visions, they were much more likely to be successful. The second element was their ability to communicate the story. Governments that have been successful in implementing reform were able to bring everyone on board to join this process. It wasn't just led by one ministry or one department. Another really important lesson was the fact that the countries that were successful included those children who are seen as hard to place at the forefront of that planning and deinstitutionalization process. Children with disabilities, adolescents, children with learning or behavioral challenges were all at the forefront of the planning. Another very important lesson from governments who have been successful is they managed to stop the revolving door. They made a clear commitment to gradually eliminating institutional care, and in this way they avoid the children coming in and out at all times.